following podcast contains spoilers and words like f***, and f***. We watch the thing. We watch the thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. You've got B Dizzle, you've got David Powell. He's got a martini.
I do.
How are you doing, mate?
I am very good. I'm looking forward to this.
That's good.
It's a weird one today.
Me too. It is. Mentioned last week that I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm going to beep this, but I did see the assembly cut of which was pretty exciting.
You saw a thing that we can't talk about. You watched a thing, but it's not the gist of the episode.
That's right. So we thought we'd have a bit of fun with this and not have to get to the movies and stuff. So thought we'd do some kind of countdown type episodes. And what did we land on for today, mate?
We landed on top 5 movie couples. We're in romance land.
Yes.
Everyone else is talking about John Wick punching people. We thought it'd be a little bit more sensitive.
Yep, because that's us. We're sensitive guys, mate.
Yeah. We're lovers, not fighters.
How did you find making this list? I know that we had to clarify a few things because around halfway through the day, you reached out to me and said, are we including like bromances and stuff? And at that point I was like, yes, absolutely. And then about 20 minutes later, I said, actually, 5 is not enough. This is too hard. No, That'll be a separate list.
Exactly.
How did you go about making this?
Oh, I just sat down and I avoided doing the standard, we have a list, I need to go to Google and start Googling what other people have put in similar lists. I just did this completely off the top of my head and ended up with 10 or 15 before I just went, oh, fuck it, I'm going to stop even thinking about it or it's going to be even harder to narrow down.
And I'm 100% certain that as we go through this, you'll name names and I'll be like, oh, fuck, how did I forget that one? Maybe the same vice versa. Because
I
did the same thing. I just went off my head.
I'm telling you now so that you don't think that I'm making it up. I have 2 couples that I left off because I knew they would be in your top 5, and I'm desperately hoping you've forgotten them so that I can tell you as honourable mentions and make you scream.
I do have one that I've just thought of just now that I should have had on my list, but it's too. I'm not adjusting anything. I'm just going to leave it. It'll be an honourable mention.
Swap it in if it's
Maybe
better.
It'll be on your list.
All right, doubt it.
Well, let's do it.
I don't think we're going to have any.
Right.
I don't think we're going to have any crossovers. Just looking at my
Really?
list, I genuinely don't. If we were doing it like a top 10 or something, I think we would, but I don't think we will in the top 5.
All right. Well, why don't you kick us off with your number 5 tonight?
All right. Now, mine are all out of order because I went arbitrarily through numbering these just before we started. All right. Number 5. Boom. Yep. Here we go. My number 5 is Martha and Francis from a film called Mr. Right, as played by
I've not seen
Anna
Mr.
Kendrick
Right.
and Sam Rockwell.
Yep. I knew that it was Anna Kendrick. I have heard of this film, but I have not seen it. I'm guessing it's a rom-com.
It's a rom-com, but it's a really fucking violent one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's surprising. And I think this is why a lot of people don't like it. I really liked it. I've seen it about 3 times now, I think. Anna Kendrick's being Anna Kendrick, so that's obviously 10 out of 10 charm factor. Sam Rockwell is being weird Sam Rockwell. I'm sure he dances at multiple points. She's your sort of almost manic pixie dream girl type who is flighty and can't settle down and can't land a relationship, and she's just all a bit of a hot mess. Comes across Sam Rockwell, who's charming and a bit off kilter, and she likes him, but he's very weird and secretive. And turns out he's a hitman.
Right.
He's basically John Wick. He's like the uber hitman who everyone's afraid of. But he's also kooky and weird and dances and is charming as fuck. And they just mesh beautifully, both as actors and the way their personas are on screen and the characters. And I just love the shit out of this movie. It's really funny. And I think the reason why it didn't find an audience, because the rom-com audience would have found it a bit too violent, because it's quite bloody. The fights they're not John Wick level, but they're proper fight scenes. They're proper choreographed like a proper fight scene, and there's people being killed left, right, and center, which is a little bit kind of uncomfortable for a rom-com crowd. Where you expect everyone to get up afterwards and just have a few bruises. No. He's absolutely fucking killing people. And what makes it even more uncomfortable, I think, is that she, while initially sort of shocked by his profession, finds it weirdly exciting, and then really gets into it. And then by the end, she's fucking killing people left and right as well.
Nice.
So
I'm
right
keen.
up my.
I love
I
a
reckon
manic pixie
you'd love
dream
it.
girl.
Yeah,
I love a manic pixie dream girl. I have one on my list for sure.
Oh, okay. That's going to be one of the ones that I've left off mine because it's definitely on yours. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. No, I reckon you'd really dig this. I think Nus could like it as well. It's violent, but it's not like Tarantino, and it's all. Yeah, nice. It's never not having fun.
All right. Well, my number 5 is, I don't think this is going to be on your list either. This was a big movie, an Oscar-winning movie, in fact, only a few years ago. And yet I think if you asked anyone to come up with a list of couples, I don't think they'd have this on there. But this is a really beautiful love story, I think, between two, I'm not even going to say people, I'm going to say creatures who cannot even communicate with each other.
This is an honourable mention.
It is Eliza and the Fishman from The Shape of Water. Yep.
Honourable mention. And I've literally got written Eliza and the Fish.
Yeah. That's exactly what mine says as well. I think it's just such a beautiful story. I love this film. I think it's, don't get me wrong, I love all of Guillermo del Toro's work, but I think that this is one of his strongest. And strangely, I didn't think that he could delve deeper into kind of fairy tale lore than what he did with Pan's Labyrinth, but I think this is somehow even more of a fairy tale. And I think the romance between these two beings is just so prominent without being, I don't know, there's something kind of strangely beautiful in it.
It is one of the most genius things about this film, and obviously it's a really, really good film and justifiably won lots and lots of awards. But one of the most genius things is, at least for me, and I'm assuming for you, at no point am I going, ew, she's fucking a fish.
That's the thing.
How the hell did he make this not ooey from start to finish and actually have it be a beautiful romance? It's really, really amazing work to be able to accomplish 100%.
That. Well, I'm glad that's on your honourable mentions at least. All right, what's your number 4?
All righty. Number 4 is Nina and Jamie from a film called Truly, Madly, Deeply, which is
a film I've not seen.
Alan Rickman and Juliet Stevenson, I think, from memory. I should have written this down. Nice. It's one of the most beautiful romance films I've ever seen.
It's hard for me to picture Alan Rickman in a romantic sense. There's something very unsexual about him.
I saw this for the first time very soon after I saw Die Hard. And it was quite odd. But it is a really beautiful film. It's Anthony Minghella, who probably most famous for The English Patient, but I forgave him for that because this film is so fantastic. It concerns Nina is a widow. Her partner Jamie is newly passed away, and she is not coping in the slightest. They were, absolute soulmates, and she is just bereft at the start of the film. And then he sort of appears as a sort of a corporeal ghost, so he's solid, and sort of refills that gap that's been in her life. And she's happy as a clam. She's that they have this idyllic life together for a while in her apartment, which he can't leave. But she's switched off from every other facet of her life, and so everyone else is concerned about her because they don't know that he's sort of quote unquote back. They just think she's wallowing depression when in actual fact she's absolutely deliriously happy. But obviously that can't sustain forever. And that's where sort of the tragic part of the romantic film comes in. But their relationship is just perfect soulmates.
So what year is this from?
1990 on the dot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. So not long after Die Hard at all.
No. And the supporting cast is wonderful. You got Bill Patterson in there as a friend who's sort of would like to be more. Michael Maloney, who's always great, he's in there. This is a 5 out of 5 film. It's absolutely perfect. Really funny, really moving, just beautiful.
All right, another one on the list for me then.
Yeah, and peak Rickman. This is Rickman when at the absolute epitome of his Rickmanness.
Yeah. All right, number 4 for me. This is where I get my most girly. This is my most traditional kind of rom-com film on the list.
Is this Edward and Bella?
It's not. Don't have Edward and Bella. Oh, man. Yeah. We should do a Twilight marathon at some point, just quietly.
I'm up. No shame here, but I do not hate those films. I can see
Really?
I can see all
I've
the
only
flaws
seen the
in
first
them.
one.
I can see all the flaws, but maybe because I binged them when I had really, really bad flu, kind of liked them. Fuck the haters.
Oh, God. No, this is not Edward and Bella, but I do think that this is one of the greatest traditional rom-coms of all time. In fact, it's one of those, for me, along with films like Annie Hall, that really kind of established what a rom-com was. I don't have any Woody Allen on my list, but I'm a massive Woody Allen fan. But I like to think of Billy Crystal as better Woody Allen, and here we have Harry and Sally from When Harry Met Sally.
Can't criticize.
Are you a fan of this film?
Oh, who isn't? Reiner.
Yeah.
This is a masterful film. It's really, really good.
It's so well written. It's so well put together. These two, it's really funny. You want them to be together from the start, but you also kind of don't care if they do or not.
No.
Because you're just happy with them being friends. And I think that that's why this movie truly works, is that they are a true couple, that you just enjoy seeing them together in any capacity. They're both in their absolute prime in this film. Like, this is both of them at their best, except for maybe City Slickers. I'm a big City Slickers fan.
This is so much better than City Slickers.
When was the last time you watched City Slickers, mate?
When did it come out?
Well, there you go. I'm telling you, rewatch it as an old man, because I think that's the thing. You got to remember that movie is about...
Firstly, fuck you. Secondly, do I need to watch the Legend of Curly's Gold or whatever as well?
No, fuck that one. Fuck that one. But I'm telling you right now, in fact, how about this? I think Noosk and I did do City Slickers at one point in the show, but it might have only been a Patreon bonus. So you and I, at one point, are going to do City Slickers on the show, because it's in my top 100 of all time.
Wow, okay.
But I've gone off track. There's no great film couples in City Slickers, but Harry and Sally, absolutely love them. Just fantastic.
Yeah, and Carrie Fisher and Bruno Kirby is possibly the greatest sort of supporting friends. Alrighty, where are we up to? Number three. All right, curveball. All right, my number 3 is Albert and Armand from The Birdcage.
A film which you have spoken about many, many, many times on this show.
The Birdcage I have not.
I believe you have. I swear you have.
Well, it's fun. It is one of the few films where the English language remake is superior to the original foreign language.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Robin Williams in the English remake?
Yep, it's Robin Williams and Nathan Lane.
Yes, I thought so.
So Robin Williams is the the father of main character. And Armand is his, I'm not sure if they're married, but we'll say life partner, played by Nathan Lane, in the kind of over-the-top camp gay performance that you probably couldn't get away with now, but I don't think is remotely offensive. I think It is
no, and Nathan Lane is a master of that too.
He is phenomenal. But I mean, both of them are amazing.
He is a very, very, very funny actor. He's just very, very funny.
Very funny, and he's hysterical in this. Robin Williams is fantastic, and I think one of the reasons it works so well is that Robin Williams is kind of it's the wrong term in this context, but the straight man of the comedic couple.
Yes, yeah.
In that he is the non-camp, obviously gay character, but Nathan Lane is the over-the-top, larger-than-life. Just as soon as he enters every room, that's the person you're looking at. And I mean, that entire movie is hysterically funny. Everyone in it is great. Gene Hackman, Hank Azaria is hysterically funny in it.
I love Hank Azaria.
The reason they're so high on my list is that they are utterly devoted to one another.
Yeah.
And unapologetically sort of overt with their affection. So the way the story progresses, you've got young bloke who is there. He and his fiancée are poised to get married. The parents haven't met one another. His parents are this gay theatre couple. And like when I say theatre couple, sort of burlesque, like feather boas, proper theatre couple. Her parents are a very conservative Republican senator or whatever, played by Gene Hackman, and polar opposite to his parents. And they're all coming together. He's asked his fathers to tone it down, hide, put the gay under the carpet, and let's just get through this. We'll kind of let them in on things after the wedding. Let's, please for me, I know it's insulting. And you couldn't do it now. No. People would say it's not PC. And the thing is, there is no reason that you shouldn't be able to do this film now. It's not offensive. You are in Robin and Nathan's corner the entire film. You spend the whole film going, you shouldn't have to hide who you are. And the film ends with the conservative guys. Gene Hackman has to get in drag to get out of the building without the press seeing him. It's if you
and you're right. There's a reason that this couple is on your list, because that you care about them,
and they stand up for each other. At the end of the day, Robin Williams refuses at the end of the day to hide his love for Nathan Lane, and Nathan Lane, who's doing his absolute best to kind of straight up and play the part and everything. And Robin Williams ends up saying, that's not who you are. I won't have you hide who you are for other people. There's nothing to be ashamed of. The messages are so positive throughout. And it's one of the best examples I can think of someone, people standing up for their partner and not being ashamed of who they love and all the rest of it. Yeah, it's beautiful. And if you haven't seen it, you need to see it.
Nice pick. All right. My number 3. Here's where we have an aforementioned manic pixie dream girl. Do you want to have a guess at what it is?
Is her name Clementine?
Yes, it is. Yes. This is Joel and Clementine.
I know you so
in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. In my top 5 favorite films of all time, this movie is. And I love this concept. This is one of the best sci-fi films ever made, I think. Charlie Kaufman is a fucking genius. And the entire concept behind this, and the fact that it is slowly revealed that these two have done this before. This isn't the first time they've wiped each other from their memories, just completely said, fuck you, it's over. But they keep getting pulled back to each other, because as tormented and tragic as their story is, that's their story. They're just destined to keep reliving this over and over and over again. And I just adore it so much. I think this again, this talk about people in their peak. This is I love everything Kate Winslet has ever done. Little Children is also in my top, 100 films.
She's your
Titanic,
anti-Kate
obviously.
You've got Kates at both ends of the spectrums.
But this film, she is just on the top of her game. And Jim Carrey, I don't think has ever done better than in this role as Joel as well.
No, this is...
And again, you've got a great supporting cast here as well. Mark Ruffalo, Kristen Dunst. It is... Oh, fuck, I love this movie and I love this couple.
Who are the guys in the van again? I haven't seen this in a while. Is it Tobey Maguire or someone in there? Elijah Wood?
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. God, he has never picked a bad role.
No. He's excellent in this film as well, actually. Yeah. No, a great movie. And I love this couple. There are so many fantastic sequences in this film where they're trying to outrun their memories to stay together.
Oh, and the way
that the narrative...
It's erasing on the screen?
Yes.
I'm going to watch this after tonight. I haven't seen it in a good few years. I've seen it once or twice, and I absolutely love it. I obviously knew it was going to be on your list.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie Kaufman, I think, is one of the greatest screenwriters of all time. M. Higgins and I, just last year, I think, did an episode on Being John Malkovich, which is another of my favorites. Adaptation. I don't think Charlie Kaufman's ever made
Adaptation.
film,
I've been meaning to rewatch for a couple of weeks now.
Oh,
yeah, it's incredible.
It really, really is. But I think this is the best romantic relationship that I think he's written on screen. I think that this film obviously is a romance at its core. I think you can look at some of his other movies like Being John Malkovich. Obviously, there are romantic threads there.
Oh, but
this film hinges on this relationship.
This is more than any film I can think of about sort of the idea that love is almost this tangible, immutable thing that is it's above conscious thought, it's above memory, it's above anything. Yep. There's an element of fate
and
in
whether
there
it's happy or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been touched on by a number of things since, but I can't think of anything before Eternal Sunshine that really touched on this. So actually, I tell a lie. Fuck. And this would have made my list as well. But it's not. I can't dislodge either of my last two. So there was a film from, I think it's about 1984 called Made in Heaven with Timothy Hutton and Kelly McGillis. And that's a similar thing where they actually meet in heaven, where he's Tim Hutton's died at the age of 20-something. Kelly McGillis is a new soul who's never actually been to Earth in a body. They fall in love, and then she gets told, "Oh, it's time for you to go to Earth, and your soul will be put into a baby, and you will have your first life." And Timothy Hutton approaches the angel in charge and says, "What can I do? We're in love. What can I do?" And manages to broker a deal where he will be put into a baby at the same time. And they have 30 years to find one another. If they do, they can be together forever. If they don't, sorry, sayonara, you had your shot.
Yeah, right.
And then that
sounds really cool.
I love it. It's a little bit cheesy. It's very 80s. It's got great cameos from the likes of Neil Young and Tom Petty and people. It's a cracker.
Nice.
Hard to find. I'll find it for you because I reckon you'd really dig it because it's really fucking schmaltzy and cheesy.
All right, over to your number two then.
Alrighty, number two. All right, this is where we have one Wade Wilson and Vanessa, aka Deadpool.
Whoa, right.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The second most perfect couple ever on celluloid or digital.
Did not even cross my mind, I've got to say. And I'm not against the choice. I think that's interesting.
They genuinely. I mean, just think about it. One, there, and this is sort of where I approached. I left. I won't mention them now in case they're in your last couple. But if we do honourable mentions, I'll touch on things that I thought would be in my top 5, but weren't because they didn't kind of have. To me, the perfect relationship is based on a sense of humour. If you've got both parties have a similar sense of humour and laugh together, that's everything. Think, your classic romantic relationships, and I know what your favorite films are, so I'm not going to mention it, but fuck, it doesn't belong in there for me because...
Are you thinking Titanic?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't have that on my list for this very reason, actually.
She wouldn't let him on the door.
I was like...
But they're literally... I mean, if you took them out of the situation they were in, they would never fucking come together because their personalities
it's true, and that's why I didn't have it on my list.
Whereas if you've got a couple who can have a similar sense of humor and can laugh together about the same things, you can surmount anything. It doesn't matter what life throws at you. You will get over everything because you are in sync on the most important things. And that's why I have Deadpool and Vanessa so high, because she doesn't care that he's a fucking burn victim who looks like pick any one of TJ Miller's, 2 avocados, had sex, whatever, a topographical map of Utah. He looks like a scrotum, but she loves him anyway. It doesn't matter that that's happened to him. She sticks with him when he's got a terminal cancer diagnosis. She bounces back from him being absent for ages and coming back as a burn victim superhero. None of that matters.
Yeah.
Physical compatibility off the fucking charts. They go through every single public holiday, including International Women's Day. They are so in sync, and spoilers for something that's a few years old, but when he has to deal with the loss of her in Deadpool 2, that is how I imagine I would be if I lost that much of a soulmate. Everything comes to a halt. Nothing else in your world makes sense. You cannot deal with existence without that person because they permeate every facet of your being. And I can't wait to see where we come in Deadpool 3 or X-Force or whatever it's going to be called. But obviously we end Deadpool 2 with him fucking the timeline up enormously just to get her back. So who knows?
No, that's a good call. Didn't even cross my mind. I've seen Deadpool 1 maybe twice and Deadpool 2 only once. I liked those films, but I didn't like them as much as the rest of the world. So that's why it didn't cross my mind. But it's a good call for sure. All right, my number 2. This is where we have a late change because when we first started this conversation, I realized there was a couple I'd forgotten. And this is where they wind up. So I'm sorry to Clark and Lois. You are off the list.
Wow. Were they even on the list? Wow. Okay.
Oh, they were. Yes. In fact, they were number 2. But replacing them here is... Can you take a guess? Let's see if you...
Well, the other one that I had on my honourable mentions, but I kind of think you will probably have, is Mia and Sebastian.
No, and they're on my honourable mentions. No, this couple here is Jesse and Celine from Before Sunrise, Before Sunset.
Honourable mention.
Yep. I love this. And again, I think that, with this number 2 and number 3, I think that highlights one of the things that I truly believe in fate. I really do. And the idea that this couple keep finding each other. And there's something beautiful in kind of, particularly the first film, I think, the almost unromanticness of it. Like, they're just kind of, they meet, we follow them in real time as they just walk around the city. And we know inherently that this is a couple that are supposed to be together. So at the end of the film, when they leave, we know that they're coming back. And I'm so glad that we have the entire trilogy, coming back there. Because it's just, again, it's a concept I love. Richard Linklater, I think, is a brilliant filmmaker.
Agreed.
And I think these performances, Julie Delpy, Ethan Hawke, and the way that they kind of, basically co-wrote this film, so much of it being improvised. I just think it lends such an authenticity to this relationship that I just adore. I love it so much.
Yep. I recently picked up the box set Blu-ray of the entire... I'm with you 100%. I love Linklater ever since Slacker.
Yes, same. Yeah, Slacker was my first Linklater.
He's a fantastically underrated filmmaker. And, yeah, these films are just beautiful. I know our mate Julio would agree. He's a huge fan.
Yes.
Because he's got a heart as big as Texas.
Yeah, it's so funny. Julio and I feel like we have such a kind of closely linked kind of selection of things that we like. But then every time I go to show him something that I'm like, oh, you'll love this, or vice versa for him, we kind of don't like it. And I'm like, that's so weird because, you know, we're both massive Woody Allen fans. We love Linklater. We love all this stuff. And yet every time we show each other something, we don't like it.
I'll tell you what.
It's so weird.
And I'll stop derailing this episode for the last time in a second. Let's get Julio on, because I've only ever...
We should.
I've only ever been on an app with Julio when I was thrashing him in the Countdown trivia. Let's get... Because I'm overdue to watch Little Children. So I'll watch that. You watch Holy Motors. And then we'll bring Julio on and we'll both report back to him because they're two of his favourite films. There we go.
Yeah. And for the record, for the public, let's throw a proper plug out. We are, of course, talking about Julio from The Contrarians, which is a fantastic podcast.
I just
go check it out.
Everyone listen to The Contrarians.
Yeah. Well, here we go with our number ones.
Yep. And we're not crossing over. I guarantee you. All right. So number one for me is one of my biggest regrets in cinematic history, because I love the film Odd Thomas. But unfortunately, the wonderful Anton Yelchin passed away, and we never got the other 4 or 5 films that would have come in this franchise. But it's a fantastic film, and he and his girlfriend, Stormy Llewellyn, are the most perfect couple in cinematic history.
Another film that I have not seen. What did you say it was called? Sorry?
Odd
Thomas?
Odd Thomas.
Odd Thomas.
So,
okay.
Yelchin plays our protagonist, Odd Thomas. He is a guy who has the ability to see things beyond the normal realm. So he sees these sort of demonic things that gather whenever death is about to occur. The more violent the death, the more of these monstery things occur. And they can tell if you can see them. So he has to spend his entire time hiding the fact that he can see these monstrous things that accumulate around. And he helps out local police chief, played by Willem Dafoe, who sort of accepts his abilities without question. And it sort of follows him as he deals with, he has this, his sort of unpaid profession of trying to prevent violent death to innocent people. So he'll see these things gathering around someone, follow them and stop them getting hit by a car or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And over the it's based on a book by Dean R. Koontz, who's kind of like the almost Stephen King.
Almost Stephen King, yes.
Koontz had a series of these, and I think there were 6 from memory books in this series. And
I haven't heard of the books either.
I mean, the first one's called Odd Thomas, obviously, but there's we would have got a franchise out of this had Anton Yelchin not sadly passed away just after this one. But I reckon I've seen this 5-6 times. I fucking love it.
Another one for me to add to the list.
It's so good.
It sounds great.
He is fantastic.
It sounds great.
As he always is.
But
most underrated actor of his generation. She is gorgeous, and their rapport, they have the most perfect relationship I have ever seen on film or TV.
Yeah. It sounds great, but
Bring it. Come on.
Cannot be the number one. I cannot believe that this is not on your list. I mean, I can believe it.
Is it Ellie and Carl from Up?
No.
Because they're beautiful.
No. It is the most handsome man who has ever lived.
This better not be the
Carrie
fucking
Elwes.
Conjuring. Oh, no, of course. Oh, no! You're kidding. This is the worst fucking couple. This is on my
Buttercup
anti-list.
and Wesley.
No!
No way. Fuck you. This is the quintessential romance film. This is...
Is it?
This is the love story. How can you not like The Princess Bride, Dave?
She wouldn't even call him by his name until after he died. Farm boy, do this. Farm boy, do that. Farm boy, do that. She was a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Nah. Let me tell you, I hate when Noose calls me Billy. When Noose calls me Billy, that's when I know I'm in trouble.
What does she normally call you?
Billy.
Farm boy.
That's what I asked.
This is an insight into your life I don't need.
No, Buttercup and Wesley, 100%. It was the first couple that crossed my mind. I wrote them down at number 1, and I didn't move them after I thought of it because they are. And I toyed with others. I thought about Rick and Evie from The Mummy.
That's the other one that I had that I thought you would have, along with Joel and Clementine and Mia and Sebastian from La La Land.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely honourable mentions those, but I mean Buttercup and Wesley, like they're just so beautiful together. There's a shortage of perfect breasts in the world, Dave.
There are. I have nothing against Wesley.
Films. This is my number one film.
Wesley is fantastic. I mean, I don't understand why he went through the charade of calling himself Dread Pirate Roberts, not just going, "Hi, I'm back." But that's the story. We deal with that. But I like Robin Wright. She's a good actress. But Buttercup is just nothing.
No.
She gives me nothing in that. And I'm the biggest Princess Bride fan in the world. I adore that film. I have seen it more times than I can count. I love everything about it. But their romance is probably, to me, the least aspect of that film. I get nothing from her at all. She's vapid. She's my Wesley will always come for me. Yeah, I don't buy it. I get nothing.
What a differing opinion we have here.
I know.
All right, well, there we go. That's our top 5. So do you have any other honourable mentions that haven't already been thrown out there?
Oh, so many. Let me leave out the bromance ones because we'll get to those. As I said, I had Eliza and the Fish. I had Joel and Clementine. George and Mary Bailey.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call. Yes.
Lasso the moon.
Swallow
If nothing else, what she does for their honeymoon with that leaky old fucking hotel and the movie posters, along with the original Bert and Ernie, that did it for me. I had Emma and Adele from Blue is the Warmest Colour. Which is another beautiful relationship. And I mean, let's face it, not a hard film to watch. Ron and Hermione.
Yes, I had them on my shortlist as well.
For them. Alabama and Clarence Worley from True Romance.
Yep.
Celine and Jesse we touched on. Jamal and Latika from Slumdog Millionaire were very close to my top 5.
That's a good call. Yeah,
not only does he go through a trivia competition, he literally climbs through a mountain of shit. Which I have lots of female friends and lots of women I've loved over the years. Can't think of one I'd climb through a mountain of shit for. Rick and Evie we touched on, and then we're well and truly into bromance level, I think. Yeah. Oh, and Ellie and Carl from Up, which was a kind of a hard to leave off the list, really, but because the entire relationship is in about a minute and a half, I kind of felt like it's hard to include on the list. And Edward and Bella, we can't forget Edward and Bella, the romance that surmounted life and death and led to the creepiest baby in cinematic history.
Right,
do you have any
stuff right mate? There? Only ones that have been mentioned. Yeah, Rick and Evie. Alrighty. Well, next week We, again, don't know what we're doing yet.
Maybe we're doing top 5 bromances. Who knows? We don't know.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe we are.
We'll get to D&D one day. We still need to get to D&D. I'm less concerned about John Wick. I do want to chat about D&D if we can get to it.
Yes, I am hopeful that I will get to D&D this week. So maybe we'll do D&D next week before we get on to some more top 5s. Because, I am desperate to see it. I'm really keen.
It's my number one thing I'm most excited for at the moment.
I couldn't give a toss about John Wick. I am very excited for Dungeons & Dragons.
I mean, I'll see John Wick. I'm sure it's going to be more John Wick.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry, Paul. I know you're cross with me, but I'm just it's good. It's fine. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not there. But D&D, I'm well stoked for.
100%.
We'll try and get our buddy Drew on. I'm not sure if we can coordinate that, but we will try.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we're going to have a lot more interesting episodes like this one coming because you've got work. I've got
and you've got a holiday.
I have to go and sit on a beach and drink Mai Tais.
And before that, you've got to get a passport, mate.
Yeah, fucking don't remind me. I'm so stressed. It's my passport's fine. It's 3 children's passports that are giving me fucking angina at the moment.
All right. Well, in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and we'll catch you next week.
Go watch Odd Thomas and maybe Mr. Right.